Sniffle.
You realize you're like barely even in the shot, right?
I'm trying, man. So we went and saw The Wedding Ringer. It was mediocre at best.
Way to go.
Well, because like
C.
this is one of those movies that we've been getting reviews
C, not even
for.
C plus.
Oh, C-ish. Or see me after class.
Oh no.
So this is one of those movies that we've been getting reviews for, or previews for a while, correct? Because
Yeah.
I feel like I've been hearing about this movie for way longer than one normally hears about a movie.
Yeah, we've had these trailers for a little while now. I honestly thought that I had missed it until Brad mentioned the other day, like, oh, do you want to see The Wedding Ringer? I'm like, oh, okay. So it hasn't come out already.
It has now.
Or maybe it's been out for weeks and just no one went to it. I don't know.
No, it came out now-ish, but, like, watching it, I was really having fun for the first half. And then a thing happened, which we'll get into, and after that thing happened, the whole movie went to shit, and was very much in the style of, like, a movie that had been cobbled together from a different, worse movie.
Yeah, it's...
Like a last-ditch Hail Mary sort of effort.
This was a movie that was about 50%, give or take, sort of a creative idea, a nice concept, and then...
Shenanigans.
And then, yeah, after, like, the halfway point, it turns into every cliche that they were avoiding really touching on too much in the first half of the film.
You know what it turned into is That's My Boy.
Wow.
Like, it didn't have Adam Sandler in it, so it wasn't That's My Boy caliber terribleness, but it definitely had the same sort of randomness for randomness' sake feel to it. Where, like, all of a sudden the plot just shatters, and they're just doing things because they're funny, not so much because it... Well, funny, and not so much because it
There you go.
forms a cohesive plot.
Yeah, because the first half of the movie really does seem like an actual attempt at a movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it's got a story, there are things happening that further the plot on their own merit, not just like, well, here we are at this location, and there's a cut, and now we're somewhere else, and they're wearing different clothes. So, okay, it's the next day, and this is happening now. No, they actually had, like, you know, like, an actual movie going on.
Yeah, and made us care about the characters, which is why it was even more jarring when all of a sudden they were Warner Brothers cartoons. Okay, so the plot of this movie is basically Josh Gad is getting married to Kaylee Cuoco. Sweetness is her name now, apparently. Sweetness?
Sweet and low. Sweet
Yes,
and low
Kaylee
down.
Cuoco something or other.
Sweet and low down. I think it's all beard,
she's got,
by the way,
like-
I just noticed. I'm looking to grow this more and just eventually...
It's gonna be like eye holes. You're
Just
gonna
a-
be like the
just a
Wolfman
beard.
in Transylvania 65000
Yeah, just a beard with glasses on it.
and a sweet surfboard.
Hell yes. But proceed.
So Kaylee Cuoco Sweetness has 7 bridesmaids, including her maid of honor, and Josh Gad's character has no friends because apparently he moved around a lot when he was younger, and then just became like kind of a workaholic, and so just didn't have the time to make friends. So he's freaking out, and he's like invented all these weird friends that are gonna be his groomsmen, but she's never met him, and he has no idea what he's gonna do. And so the wedding planner says, okay, go to this guy, he can help you out, and it's a best man for hire. Kevin Hart. And so apparently this is something of it's a golden tux, apparently, what he's asking for.
Yeah, he offers a variety of services, whether you just need him to, like, show up and shake your hand there, or, like, if you need somebody to, like, just be there for the wedding, be there for the whole day,
Have
be
a
there
couple
for
groomsmen.
days up to it, like, everything. And they all have, like, names that make no sense.
You know, like the bronze cufflink and the silver bow tie. And apparently the golden tux is like the full deal, including groomsmen. And Josh Gad's like, I want that. He's like, it can't be done. He's like, I'll pay anything. He's like, okay.
It can't be done. Money's not a problem. Oh, then it absolutely can be done. Let's get started right now today.
And so, you know, the things happen that you expect to happen, but charmingly. You know, they go out and like take pictures of themselves doing different stuff, so it looks like they have a friendship that's longer than like a week.
And it's interesting because
Is that Cloris Leachman on fire?
That like
But charmingly.
She's in several scenes, but she only has like 2 lines because then they immediately set her on fire and she doesn't
It's
talk
a waste
the rest
of
of the movie.
goddamn Cloris Leachman.
The rest of the movie, she just sits there like with fucking pancake makeup on her. Because of the tremendous amount of burns across her body.
I feel like if you were burned in the face, then no amount of pancake makeup would make it look less burnedy a couple days after the fact.
No, you just fill in all the cracks.
Oh, I see. You just gotta paint a new face over your old face.
Yeah.
It's like spackle.
That's why it's called foundation.
Ba-doom.
I'll be here all week.
So they start to become like actual friends, and Josh Gad mentions that they're not having a bachelor party, and so like with the Golden Tux, of course you get a bachelor party, and then so they run up to his work
it's
and
not
they
even
kidnap
really
him.
that like it's at that point like Kevin Hart's actually starting like he's growing on him despite like the Kevin Hart keeps pointing out to him like it's like I'm not your friend, I'm an employee.
It's a business transaction.
But you can tell like he's getting sweet on him, so he decides
I've never been like on a guy trip. He's like, "You never been on a guy trip?" Cut to the next day.
Yeah, he throws him a bachelor party that starts off with 2 men in a pickup truck kidnapping him in broad daylight on a busy street.
That was one of the scenes that made me like cackle because they just throw him in the back of the truck and he lands like head first. It's like clang, and then he like rolls and hits the back of the flatbed and just like rolls out into traffic. And it's Josh Gad, so he's got good physical comedy. And then there's a bachelor party. Which,
And that's when everything changed.
It's just like this like MTV spring break style party.
Woo, spring break
Which is
99.
like just quick cuts of like ladies in bikini tops and like giant sunglasses and brewskis.
It was everything but like the Tiki God.
Yeah. And Josh Gad, I guess they've hired him a prostitute. And he's like, no, fiance, I love her so much. And so they end up like handcuffing him to 2 posts, and she's like smearing peanut butter on his face and licking it off. He's got a blindfold on. And then they just reached on his pants and I guess smeared all over his cock and balls. And then they bring in this beagle. No, it was a basset hound.
It was a basset hound.
And, which, a basset hound wouldn't be able to reach up that far without help.
No, you didn't see? They built him a little ramp.
Did they really?
There was a little ramp
there.
There
was so much of the scene that I didn't miss because I was going, that I didn't see because I was going like this.
He's named Cooper. He a hound dog. This is not how the Fox and the Hound went.
No. So the dog starts licking his balls, and he's like, "Oh, prostitute, why are you doing it so fast and whiskery?" And so then they take the blindfold off.
They're like, look at your dick. Ah, it's a dog.
What a hilarious and harmless prank we, your supposed friends, have played on you.
And then the dog bites his dick.
Bites and does not let go.
And there's the scene of like the dog like pulling, and you see like,
Wang, wang. It's like, how did you put it?
I was like this. It felt like the studio because it was such a quick cut. Like you see like 2 or 3 quick cuts of like his dick while like the dog's licking it, and then like the pulling it thing. And it honestly it felt like the studio told him like you can show the penis for like 2 full seconds, so work with that. And they decided to cut it up into several small sections.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just like all of a sudden like it felt like it shouldn't even have been in there. Like it just. Like you're like ha 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 ha, and it's like okay, we know what the dog's doing. And then it does like a quick like bam, like that fast of a cut to like showing the dog like licking a fake dick, and it's like yeah, I get it, I know what it's doing. I don't need to see a dog licking a dick. It's like
And then after it bites down, it shows like the dick just like stretching out from and it's that like that pink plastic like they use in Jeff Daniels' tongue in Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, I was gonna equate it to like, that scene in like Bad Grandpa where he's fucking a vending machine.
Yes, very much like that.
Pretty
or
much
like
that.
The dog's balls in Joe Dirt.
Or the dog's balls in Joe Dirt.
That is the only thing I remember about that movie. Dog's balls and Kid Rock. But so yeah, after that, it's just the whole movie goes to shit. They load the dog locks down, and because some guy like shoots off a gun.
Yeah, one of the guys who they establish is like a career felon who is just broken out of prison so he can help out with the wedding business, I guess. Somehow has a gun with him and starts shooting it in the air. And then the dog just like goes limp and everybody looks at him like, oh man, you killed the fucking dog? He's like, I shot up in the air, I swear, he must have had like a fucking heart attack, man.
And so the dog is Lockjaw in his startled coma. And so they have to load him and the dog into Hurley's Roto-Rooter van.
By the way, Hurley's in this.
Hurley's in this movie, and don't believe they don't reference Lost.
Oh, my Hugo.
I love him so much.
I just love him.
So they load him all into the Roto-Rooter van, and they're driving him to the hospital.
Along with, like, everyone who was at the bachelor party.
Yeah, they all got, like, their brewskis and bongs in the back seat.
And, like, there's, like, half a dozen strippers in there.
It's like the goddamn Muppet Mobile. In the Great Muppet Caper, you know, like the big double-decker bus where it's, like, all the Muppets for no reason whatsoever. It's like that, only a Roto-Rooter van. And so they cut off a cop, and the cop stops them, and the cop's like, why is that dog biting that guy's dick? And they're like, cheese it! And so there's like a chase scene, and they jump
Suddenly
a
a chase scene.
It's not a jump at the bridge kind of movie. Up until that point, it's just all of a sudden they're fucking jumping a bridge. And
yeah, like there's a senile old man driving, and like he keeps going like turns like the wrong way on a one-way, and then like goes down a street that says road closed, and they're like yelling at him. And yeah, like... It's literally the scene from like Speed with like the bridge that's under construction. Like there's no middle to the bridge, and somehow they ramp this van.
It is very lucky that they built a ramp out of rubble when they were doing construction on this bridge.
It's like somebody was like, pile the rocks over here. Gotcha. But what if I smooth it on one side?
Yeah, make it like kind of a slanty triangle. That's how we do it in the construction biz.
That's how I learned how to stack rocks. Always in an isosceles with the longer edge on the bottom. That's how I do it.
Yep. That taught me in construction school.
So they ramp this thing like 30 feet.
They land on the other slanty triangle on the other side of the bridge.
And
And it's completely blocked off when they land. I don't know if you noticed that, but they're stuck now in the bridge gap.
Nope.
But nope, because quick cut to the hospital.
Cut to the next day.
Where the stripper, the prostitute is there, and apparently she can speak English, and she's a friend of Kevin Hart's, and
you didn't mention that part,
Josh
but no, but
Gad fell in love at some point during the bachelor party.
It felt like there was shit missing at that point.
There must have been.
Because, okay, at the bachelor party, the stripper's name is like Natasha or Nadia or something like that. Mm-hmm. And she keeps, like, she's talking, like, really broken English. Like, they smuggled this girl over from, like, the former Soviet bloc. And, he's like,
peanut butter girl.
It's like, no, I mean, we could just, watch a Dodgers game. And she's like, you want to suck dick? And starts, like, loosening his pants. Like, no, I love my girlfriend, and I want to, let's just bounce in the bouncy castle. And then it cuts to them, like, 2 minutes later, like, bouncing around in, like, the jump house. Like, see, isn't this better than sucking my dick? Actual line. And, then she doesn't talk at all after that.
Nope. But apparently they had a moment.
But yeah, then it cuts to them in the hospital, and he's like basically professing like his love to the prostitute.
He felt a real connection.
If only she could speak English, and he wasn't getting married, and you know all this stuff. And then like she's getting ready to leave, she's like, "Okay, bye." She's like, "You speak English?"
She's like, "Oh yeah, bye, Jimmy, Kevin Hart's character, who apparently I've known for years. Call me sometime, we'll catch a Dodgers game." And that is the last we see of that woman.
So it's like, you fell in love with her? Like, because she was attempted to go down on you against your wishes, and then you bounced in a bounce house, and then she put a dog
on your
dick. And you're like, I don't know, I just love her, I guess.
Well, apparently if like a pretty woman talks to this character, then he just
instantly falls in love, yeah, apparently. The last one that did, he's trying to marry, so there you go.
Yeah, like that. during the not sucky part of this movie, he was talking about how when he first met Kaley Cuoco's character, like she wouldn't give him the time of day, and then all of a sudden she went up to him and she knew his name, and she was like, throwing him rhythm, as it were. And I was like, she's a fucking
Is that what the kids say these days?
Oh, Matt Braunger calls it. I thought it was funny. Sorry, ups to Matt Braunger. I lost my train of thought now. But so I'm thinking that has got. She's like a con artist, right? Like Heartbreakers or something. Because he's like rich as kings. He pays Kevin Hart's character $50,000 plus expenses for this shit. So like you'd think that he'd be more. First of all, used to pretty women hitting on him, and second of all, protective of his monies. But apparently,
well, but to be fair too, though, the movie tries to make him like. It makes him seem like he's more awkward than he is, but he never comes across really as awkward. Mm-hmm. And it makes it like it's like it also makes him out like he's like fucking John Goodman or like John Candy like level fat.
But he's not. Well,
he's not. He's a husky built guy. He's not thin by any stretch, but like the first scene in the movie is him like striking out at like calling a bunch of guys to be his best man, and then he sits down on his glass, like not even sits down, he leans against like his glass, like giant thick fucking glass like desktop, and then it just explodes and throws
shatters
everything
under him, and he falls on his back, and then for the entire credit sequence it's just him
calling out
for help. And I mean, like
it makes it out like he's the biggest fucking guy in the world and awkward as shit and all this kind of stuff. But then, like, when it's actually showing him, like, again, like, yeah, he's not really that terribly out of shape, all things considered.
And I mean, it might just be me, but Josh Gad is, like, kind of a sexy dude. Like, in like a, not classically attractive, but, like, a sort of lot of charisma. Like Owen from Torchwood, or like Benedict Cumberbatch, the kind of, like, a little weird looking in the face, but still kind of hot, So I don't see why he wouldn't be, up to here with Poontang.
Or at least, like, be, like, he seems like he should at least be able to, like, pull something, like, reasonable down, you know? Like, I'm not saying he's going to be out there, like, throwing dick in, like, supermodels, but he could at least, like, have a girlfriend or something who's just, like, an okay person. Yeah,
or maybe, like, another international tax lawyer.
Yeah.
Those come in ladies.
But,
and so does he ka-ching.
I see what you did there. But yeah, no, it's like, it makes him seem like he's the most awkward fucking guy in the world, but he's really not.
No, he's really not.
The only time he's ever awkward is when he gets stuck in a lie, because that's the one thing it seems like he's incapable of doing, is lying on command. Mm-hmm. Like, if you give him a second to think of something, he seems to recover. But if you throw him right on the fucking spot, like, that's the only time he ever comes across as awkward and stammering.
Yeah, or when he's singing the...
He talked a paid prostitute out of sucking his dick.
He is awkward when he's singing that Weed in the Coconut song, because, like, they keep breaking into this is during the sucky half of the movie, when it turns out the wedding planner is, like, faking Faye because of the father of the bride, and he's actually kind of like a dirtbag stoner. And so he's got this Weed in the Coconut and Smoke That Shit Up song.
He basically, like, yeah, for the whole first half of the movie, he's basically just, and again, they even reference it directly, but he's basically like Martin Short's character from Father of the Bride.
Hank Azaria on the Birdcage.
Yeah. He's basically doing that whole same deal. And then once you finally, like, they finally go to his place and, like reveal, like, okay, yeah, he's a fake too. Like, everybody in the business is fake. It just turns out that he's like Dante from Grandma's Boy.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, they were singing that stupid song, and then Josh Gad starts singing. It's supposed to be like this big laugh at what a retarded singer he was. But he's just doing like his Arnold Cunningham voice from fucking Book of Mormon. So yes. It wasn't that he was a bad singer, it's just he was too good and too loud of a singer.
Yeah, it just all of a sudden goes into like this very interesting like falsetto and like singing it as though it were an actual thing. It's like, that's just you being weird about it. Like, no one else was singing it that way. You chose to do that.
Yeah, and if he had fucking owned it, then that would have been fine. That was the only thing about the character. Is that they kept acting as if the stuff he was doing was awkward and terrible, but if they had just been like, then it would have been a cool guy.
Yeah, honestly, like, nothing he did was more awkward than anything that you, the viewer, will do in your normal day tomorrow. It's just, if it was pointed out, like, what you're doing is weird and awkward, that's all it was. Like, I'm gonna have, like, you know, I'm gonna make a sandwich, but I'm gonna put, like, mustard on it, and everybody's like, what? Then we like, okay, it's weird that I'm putting mustard on a sandwich.
You know, you get all self-conscious about it.
Well, that's all this was. Like, I just don't want to talk about the rest of the movie because it just gets dumber.
So yeah, just like they go to the wedding, and then like out of nowhere, Kaley Cuoco's character just like flips a switch, because before that point, she was just kind of like a normal, somewhat self-involved girl.
Well, it started getting kind of weird about the time like they were meeting with their wedding singer. Who was
Jeffrey Ross for some reason, in like this weird, obnoxious Jake wig.
His fantastic Jufro. She's
like, I want the song to be "You Are So Beautiful to Me" because it's our song. He's like, no, that was you and your ex-boyfriend Steve's song.
It's like, remember, like the first time we made love, like it was like your CD player was broken and you just kept playing it over and over the whole night while we were banging. He's like, no, that was you and your ex. Like, oh, well, it's still a great song, and I want it so bad. And he's like, okay, I guess, fine, whatever. It's like, that seemed weird, because so far she's been nothing but, like, normal.
Yeah, she's just a normal girl. I mean, maybe not soulmates, but...
At least, like, she seemed like an actual person.
Mm-hmm, and then all of a sudden she's all...
Like, it never really... Up to this point, I mean, Sarah had her crazy schemings hatching. They're like, what if she's like catfishing him and really like she hates him and she's just...
I would have way preferred if that was the end of this movie.
That would have made much more fucking sense.
No, it just turns out that she was sick of dating mean bad boys, so she wanted a nice guy. And fucking told his best man that, but his best friend, why she would think he wouldn't tell Josh Gad.
At this point, she also believes is a priest.
Yeah, a military chaplain.
And yeah, she's telling him, like, it's like, look,
I don't love him.
I just love him.
I want security, and he can provide it because he's rich as shit. Okay, bye.
So it seems just weird, like, drops that one, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that 10 minutes before the end of the movie? And, yeah, so she drops that on him. And, Josh Gad is in, like, the men's room, and he was, like, 2 feet from the door, so he heard everything.
Mm-hmm. How fortuitous.
And then they go out there, and, like, he kind of, like, confronts Kevin Hart about it. Like, look, I know she doesn't like me. To be fair, I don't even like her, really. I'm just like, you know, look at me, and then look at her, like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm gonna fucking luck out and get that twice in my life, so I'm gonna throw a ring on it. And they basically decide, like, you know, like, Josh Gad, like, really wants to just go ahead and just, like, blow the lid off the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Gonna blow this shit wide open.
So he basically, yeah, gives a speech like, no, this is real, which, really, it's lucky for him that it turns out that they don't love each other, because Kevin Hart married them. And he's not an actual priest. So he went up, he's like, yeah, we're not married, he's not a priest, we're outie. And then they just kind of run away. And then Kevin Hart stops to arrange a date with Kaley Cuoco's sister, which that was actually developed pretty organically, I thought.
Yeah, that was an actual relationship in this movie. Nothing else was.
Mm-hmm. Because she kept, like, catching him out in lines and being like, I think you're full of shit. And he's like, Jesus wouldn't like you talking like that.
So, you know, next time you talk to Jesus, let him know for me, okay?
So, yeah, I guess if it's on TV, watch the first half of it. And then when the dog bites Josh Gad in the dick, turn it off and be like, and then it turned out. Or watch the second half of Heartbreakers. just imagine Josh Gad's face on Jason Lee's body.
But yeah, I mean, it makes no sense. Like, once it hits the bachelor party scene, it's like they hired a different writer, not to collaborate, but just like, oh shit, the original writer fell sick with food poisoning halfway through writing the script. Could you finish this, cartoon guy? He's like, okay. And then the dog bites him and stretches his penis to 3 feet long. And then they jump a bridge. Like, why?
And then the one guy dislocates his shoulder.
It's like, yeah, like they have all this shit rehearsed, and like they're doing all this stuff, and like it's all panning out the way they want it to. Everyone is buying it, and then it gets to like the actual like wedding reception, and all of a sudden these guys are just turned into fucking, like, they forget everything they've been doing and just do everything wrong. Like, the guy who's supposed to be a vegan is sitting there eating like a fucking lamb skewer, and the guy who's supposed to be a doctor runs into another person who's also a doctor.
Also a podiatrist.
So his only resort is to tear his shirt apart so that she can see his sculpted abs. Thing. It's like, wow, you work out. And like, that's the distraction.
Worked. It worked in every instance.
But yeah, like, they all just lose their fucking minds. Like, the Asian guy has 3 balls, so he's just like standing there in the middle of the room showing his balls to like 15 other guys who are just standing there. Like, what set that one up? Was he going around like, oh, sir, you there? Oh, sorry. Can I borrow him for a minute? I gotta show all the guys in this room how many testicles I have.
I feel like, while I understand your point, I'd be hard-pressed to name a person who hasn't seen Nick's balls.
Well, that's because he just throws it out there like, so here's all my balls.
Like, like all 3 of them.
It's like, yep.
So I felt pretty comfortable with him being like that in the context of showing everyone how many balls he has.
But
because
that's
precedence there.
That's more of like a at the bar late at night sort of thing, as opposed to 5 minutes into a wedding reception. Yeah, like they all just like immediately like go crazy. Like, the guy who's faking like he's crippled is basically like just groping women. Mm-hmm. I forget what all they were doing, but like everybody just loses their fucking shit. It's like, after everything they were planning and arranging and like introducing themselves and playing it cool and everything like that, like the rehearsal dinner and all this stuff here, and then it gets to the actual wedding and they just suddenly just like, you know what, fuck it, it's the wedding, whatever, I'm just gonna be myself tonight. Mm-hmm. It's like, that just it seemed like just off, like you said, like from like the bachelor party on, the whole movie just felt like someone else took over writing it, or like you said, like they didn't have a chance to finish it, so they just grabbed up a bunch of unused scripts and just stapled them together.
Yeah, I definitely.
It's like when you're making a recipe and you miss a page, and you're like, well, I was making snickerdoodles, but it says add chocolate chips now. Like, all right, whatever.
Like that episode of Friends. Like a 7-layer bean dip and it adds lady fingers. That's pretty funny. I'm sorry, I keep...
And then Joey ate it and he loved it.
He did love it. You say you don't like Friends, but you've seen all the episodes.
Not by choice. I'm sitting around like, what should I watch today? I know, 8 hours of Friends.
Just put it on the Netflix. Guess what I've been doing?
8 hours of Friends?
8 hours of Friends. Well, I keep getting distracted, stuck between either singing songs from Book of Mormon in my head or trying to think of other guys who are sexy but weird looking in the face. Like Steve Buscemi. Yeah.
Crosses off name. Lipstick.
Lipstick. There we go.
There you go, that's the one. But, so yeah.
Making things up again.
The wedding ringer. Yeah, honestly, the last I have to really say about it is just watch the first half and go home. Wait till it's on Redbox or something, or Netflix. I'm sure in like 2 years it'll be like one of the movies on like Comedy Central's Secret Stash or something like that.
Yeah, or just like they'll cut out a lot of the dirty bits and put it on regular old Comedy Central. I'm not committing a sin just by making things up again, right?
And then onto Sarah's arm, which has a bunch of things scribbled on it.
Yeah, what, you can't read that?
Is that just a Z? Did Zorro hit you?
That's a 2 for Paul Blart 2.
We saw the trailer again for Paul Blart 2.
It's at the point where they like cut
He's
to a desert,
Blartier.
and I'm like, Paul Blart 2.
I've always missed the very beginning of that one, so I'm like, what the fuck is this?
No, I mentioned the reviews before that the first 5 times I watched that review, I'm like, oh, are they making like a Roadrunner movie? Because you just see like the cloud of dust moving across the desert, and then it cuts to Paul Blart, and you're like, ow!
That's the first thing I remembered when I saw that. I was like, I wonder if this is what Sarah was talking about. Oh, yep, there it is.
Okay, but first we got Unfriended, which...
Oh my god.
This is the first time I've seen this one.
I heard about it earlier today, like just literally the title, because it was phrased as Unfriended. No, the movie where Skype kills you.
I thought it was I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
I still know what you did last Skype.
Yes.
And that's the plot of the movie. A girl is like filmed like all like drunk and naked, and I don't know, like.
Check out this. It seemed to me that it was a film of a girl getting drugged and gang raped, and they put it online and titled the video Ashley, whatever her name is, Kill Yourself. And so the girl does.
She kills herself, which thanks apparently whoever uploaded that to like Live Leaks or I don't know. I can imagine that was hosted through YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Because
What's Vimo's policy on things?
It seems to me that a good horror movie is one that takes something that modern people would find genuinely scary, which I would find that genuinely scary, except that I would never be in a situation where I would upload a video of a girl getting raped with the caption, "Kill yourself." So I'm really more rooting for the murderer.
Yeah, because the people involved are obviously terrible people.
Oh yeah.
But it's
found footage, but it's like Skype footage, so it's gotta be even more annoying than found footage movies.
Well, it reminds me because there was a movie done here recently. I think I was reading about it the other day. It's called Open Windows. Mm-hmm. Where it's basically like Elijah Wood on his laptop was like the whole movie while he's being hunted down to be murdered by like who was it? Neil Maskell, who could kill anyone.
Elijah Wood. He's another weird looking sexy dude.
He's being hunted down to be murdered by the guy from the that Kill List and Utopia. Guy looks like he could just kill people and not feel too put out by it.
Fair enough.
And yeah, the whole thing is being told on his laptop, like different like chat windows and like oh, go to this website, you'll see that I'm not lying. Like, oh, it's CNN.com. Like, oh no, breaking news. You know, it's Open Windows. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's taken off like a vibe kind of like that, or even like that Canadian series. I watched a little bit of it on Netflix. It's called like Darknet or something like that. It's not that great. It's an anthology series that like each episode is a couple different stories that interact with each other. Mm-hmm. Horror stuff, but made for TV.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's basically like VHS the series, but it's all done through like this website that people keep putting up these videos on. So that's kind of the feel it had for me. But like in my head, I never thought to myself, "Hey, you know what my favorite part of like the first VHS was? That one where it was all like a fucking like Skype call." Or, hey, you remember what I really liked about Paranormal Activity 4? When they were FaceTiming the whole time. And that's what this movie is you watching a screen, which I mean, it's got the Windows border and the like X up here to close, and like, here's your start menu down here, and then like here's like just all the little like panels on there for like a Skype call.
Well, plus every shot that they showed it had like the glitchy, not fast enough connection to be
it's got like
Skype call look
pixels
to it.
and artifacts going on it.
Which I kind of want to know what's going on if it's a movie. I can see using that like every once in a while for like horror effect, but every single shot of that preview.
Well, no, but that's the thing is, if you've ever been on like a Skype call, like a video Skype call with like a couple people, like eventually it's gonna do that at some point. Or like somebody will move and like I can still hear your voice, but your face is just stuck like, and then it'll just kind of like, brrr, and then it's back to normal.
See, I've never Skyped with more than one person.
Or if the other person's on like a really bad like Wi-Fi connection.
Mm-hmm. Chappie, this is the first time I've seen that one too.
I'd seen a different trailer for it. This one gives a little bit more context to it because the first trailer I saw didn't have any of the Hugh Jackman parts to it. So it was just showing like
Chappie,
Indian programmer working with robot who has suddenly gained a consciousness, and it just seriously looked like they were remaking Short Circuit.
And he kind of looked like if Johnny Five and Wally had a baby, and that baby was a policeman.
Well, because like the other video, Johnny Five was like a military like defense robot. But yeah, it's like there's even a scene like some gang members are teaching him like gang signs, like they put like a hat, like a bunch of like gold chains on him, and like graffiti him a little bit. He's like going around like doing like some hip hop shit.
It's like when Helper got jacked up.
Got fixed up in the barrio.
Just like all the robot references. I thought it reminded me of Heart Beeps when they like sent the gigantic like rolling robot after him. He's just like rolling, like trundling through the forest.
But yeah, this one combined that with apparently it's basically it's the plot of like Short Circuit and RoboCop.
Yeah, that even kind of looked like an Ed 209.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah, because Hugh Jackman is working on developing a different police option that instead of, like, a small, relatable human, analog robot, that he's working on this giant hulking death machine that looks halfway between, like Ed 209 and, like, Metal Gear.
And the,
And
you haven't seen Heart Beeps, I think, is the problem. I will show you a clip when we're done of the robot that goes after them in Heart Beeps. Because they run off into the forest so they can have a baby. And they send, like, this big military robot after him. It's like a big general. Anyway.
But yeah, it basically seems like if you crossed, like Short Circuit with RoboCop, because eventually at a point it's like oh, well, this thing's got a mind of its own, we can't trust it anymore, we need to hunt it down. So then they send the big bipedal war machine that I can only hope this thing also sounds like a tiger, and then it's those two fighting until I'm assuming Chappie wins the fight.
No, he loses and dies.
The end. Well, it's from the guy who did, like, District 9, so it wouldn't surprise me if it suddenly has, like, just like, oh, and then they crush him down and make, like, license plates out of him. Okay, bye. I was here to tell a story, not make you feel good. It's a bummer. Like, I've seen a couple of his movies, and, like, he really doesn't give a shit for happy endings.
Then I probably won't watch it. Because guess what I do? I don't care. Life is too short to bum myself out. Paul Blart 2, we really don't need to cover that.
Nope.
Unfinished Business. Which, okay, that was that one where
I already
Vince Vaughn starts a small business.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
you just read the name and I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
He starts a small business and then he's trying to close a deal, and the lady who he quit from her big business is also trying to close that deal, and so they have a Vice off, it seems, and it just looked really uninteresting, that movie.
Yeah, it looked like, yep, this is a Vince Vaughn movie.
He's got like a little, he's got 2 employees, one of them is way too old, and the other one is really young, and his last name is Pancakes. Which, okay, that made me laugh a little bit, but...
Well, I like that it was, no, fuck, I'm blanking on his name now. James Franco's brother.
Oh, Jimmy Franco.
That's not it.
Paul Franco. Esteban Franco.
Yes, Esteban Franco, thank you.
Sean Franco?
No. Doesn't matter. Yeah,
James Franco.
This is just getting worse. But,
No, I know who you're talking about.
yeah,
Jeff Franco.
Anyway. Yeah, I just...
James Franco's in this movie.
It seems like some of the parts will be funny, but at the end of the day, it's a Vince Vaughn comedy. Mm-hmm. Luckily, it's not like he's got 2 employees, old guy and Owen Wilson. Luckily, that's not the setup, but
the Owen Wilson is the old guy.
Oh man, what a twist!
Mind blown. And then lastly, we have Spy, which I wrote in quotation marks because I'm still not 100% sure that's what the movie's called. They just kind of put it up on the screen.
It could have also been called The Heat 2.
Well, it's Melissa McCarthy is a analyst for the CIA, and hijinks ensue, and so she's got to go out into the field because they're trying to hunt down someone who knows the faces and names of all the spies in their employ. And I thought, well, that looks like fun. And then she gets on a motorcycle and then goes afoot, and then the motorcycle falls over, and she's like, blah, fat and uncomfortable. So probably I won't enjoy it so much.
It's basically, it does kind of a rope-a-dope. Based off of that trailer, she's playing, like, Suki St. James, and then suddenly turns into, like, her character from The Heat.
Suki St. James?
Like the one person who doesn't watch Gilmore Girls.
Oh! I'm sorry, Brian, for not getting your Gilmore Girls reference. I tried to watch it, I really did. Because I'm like, the Bryans love it so much, surely there has to be something appealing about this TV show. And then it was
really good.
I just didn't like any of the characters. Lorelai she's just this what's the lady version of a man-child? A lady child?
Lorelai Gilmore.
Yes. Like, why is this woman in charge of people?
Yeah, there's several things
wrap my brain around.
There's several things that I've seen her do on that show that I know for a fact I've seen you do.
Well, yeah, but I'm not in charge of people.
Also, Lauren Graham vaguely looks like your mom.
I guess a little.
Like, you can kind of see it, though, right?
Yeah, I could definitely see it. But, again, my mom is maturity and responsibility.
Yeah, no, Lorelai Gilmore does not.
Nope.
Long story short, I like that show, and fuck anybody who says otherwise.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to like it. I'm just saying, boy, I sure didn't. And I did get that reference once you explained it to me.
But no, like, she seems like a perfectly normal character. Was like, oh god, finally. And then it's like, no.
Suki St. James is not a normal character. She sets herself on fire like every other scene.
But she doesn't have a line in the trailer for something saying how it's like, oh, you want to know who I am? I'm the person who's going to cut your dick off, sew it to your forehead so you look like some sort of limp-dicked unicorn.
Which the girls next to me absolutely loved that line.
That one girl almost literally fell out of her chair.
But yeah, that was more her character from The Heat.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's like she's playing a normal person finally, and then 2 seconds later, again, she's just her character from The Heat.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Paul Feig again.
Well, I know, but it's one of those things, like, it's getting to the point where it's like, oh, she's in this. Well, I know exactly how this is gonna go. She's gonna complain about how fat she is and then call somebody, like, you know, a dickless fucker because she's gonna cut off their dick and, like, mail it to their mom and then show up and kick your mom in her balls when
I think she's a way more interesting way more interesting actress when it's like her physicality, which she has a really good sense of, and less so when it's hilarious how fat and foul-mouthed she is.
See, and that's one of the things that's always been a gripe of mine with comedians is if you're a fat comedian, the first time you call reference to the fact that you're fat and how it affects your day-to-day life in hilarious storied ways, I instantly don't care anymore.
Well, all comedians, when they're first starting out, I feel, have that sort of call attention to the most hilarious aspect of my physical appearance. And with a fat comedian, I tend to go with the fat. But, like,
okay, when
Pete Holmes does lesbian Val Kilmer or giant toddler for Matt Braunger.
When you're starting out, and you're
Frank Caliendo, Chris Farley.
Yeah, when you're starting out and the first thing you're doing is like, oh man, I got 20 minutes at the fucking Laugh Factory. Okay, throw in a fat joke. But I'm talking like people like Ralphie May and like Gabriel Iglesias.
Don't cite Ralphie May.
And the guy that you like, John Panetta.
John Panetta.
When everything your entire career is about is, look at how big and fat I am.
That's not true.
Like, I was going to get on an airplane, and they wanted to charge me for 3 seats. And I said, why? I only take up 2 seats. And like, because there's an in-flight meal, and you'll want thirds. I'm like, okay.
John Panetta does musicals. Don't you make fun of John Panetta.
I'm just saying, when...
John Panetta sang opera in The Punisher.
When you get to the point, though, that that's all you're doing, like, in The Punisher, I liked him in The Punisher, because nothing he was doing ever called attention to the fact that he was big. Like, the same thing, like, Melissa McCarthy, she's never been a thin girl. But on, like, stuff like Gilmore Girls, not once is it ever pointed out that she's, like, a larger girl. She's just a larger person on a comedy. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I think that there's a difference between making them the brunt of the joke because they're fat and saying that they're not allowed to ever reference it in their comedy.
I'm thinking when it's like one of the defining things about them, kind of, it's kind of like, oh, that old chestnut. Mm-hmm. That's why it really bugged me whenever like the opening of this movie was Josh Gad breaking a desk. That fuck, he should have been able to stand on that thing and fucking tap dance, and it would have been fucking.
Yeah, he
fun.
wasn't really that big in this movie.
Yeah, again, that'd be like if there was a scene in like the next.
But again,
episode,
that's like where the brunt of the joke. That's what I don't like.
But I'm saying like that'd be like. Even like the next episode of like the reviewers we do, mm-hmm. If like I go to like sit on a chair and it collapses, it's like, yeah, I'm not thin, but I'm not fucking fat.
I think.
But if it's it seemed like the movie was trying really hard to convince us that he was huge.
Yeah, they did keep referencing it, but again, it's. I do feel
also that's not going to happen in a.
Not unless he does sit on a chair and it does actually break. Because a couple of those dining room chairs in Brad's house are a bit dodgy.
One of them, I think, is completely falling apart finally.
Oh, yeah, it just looks like a chair until you actually put weight on it.
No, there's pieces missing. All right, well, I'm done talking. And bitching about Melissa McCarthy.
I think you're allowed to talk about being fat. I just don't think that you should be made fun of for it as a career. That's all I have to say. Well, don't you take big fun of John Panetta.
This is a surprisingly sober note at the end. I'm just saying, fat comedian, work with something other than... It's like, so the other day I was at the buffet for the 3rd time. Like, no. Be better than that. I'm done. That's it.
Got a line.